Jesus said, "Come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Casting all your cares upon Him, for He careth for you.
For God so loved the world, for God so loved the world,
For God so loved the world,
for God so loved the
Jesus said, "Come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus said, "Come to me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke on you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light."
Good morning, good morning. I'm really hoping this microphone's working this morning. Very interesting debates and dialogues on Twitter, and we're going to deal with that in a minute. But the first thing I want to do is, again, we said we're going to seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness. And I think I'll read the psalm, because a lot of you probably weren't, or read some of the psalm that we read last night, because a lot of you probably weren't on the actual channel. And I just want to say, everything that I do it, and sometimes, obviously, it's far easier just to sit and say nothing. I do it because I believe in what I'm doing and what I'm saying, and I think certainly what happened yesterday went a long way to vindicating my position and also answering some of the questions that I've got. But I'm going to play some videos. I'm going to read the psalm first, or bits of the psalm. Then I'm going to play a couple of videos that Tommy made, responses from Rupert, and we'll see what happens from here. But I'll read the psalm first, because again, that's the whole idea of seeking first the kingdom of God, and then again, I think what we've got to do now is find a way of bringing all people of goodwill, all right thinking. I have a friend, right, and he did a lot of work during the Troubles, right, and he's honestly one of the best people I know, an absolute great guy. And he always says to me, he always quotes Ronnie Flanagan. Ronnie Flanagan always used to say this. Ronnie Flanagan was the chief constable of the RUC. You know, what would the normal right-thinking people of Northern Ireland think about this? And I think that's a very good way of looking at things. What would the right-thinking people of the United Kingdom think about what's going on at the minute and what the solutions are? And that's what we've got to focus on. Not what we think in our echo chambers one way or another, but what would the right-thinking, and what do the right-thinking people think about what's happening in the country and what the solutions are? So I want to leave that with you. I'm going to read this psalm. And let me just get rid of that, sorry. Let's get the psalm in there. Okay, so this is Psalm 55 from the American King James Version. Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my supplication. This is the way we should really start all our prayers. If not saying it overtly, then saying it inwardly. We want God to hear us. You know, when we want to get someone's attention, we send them a text, we phone them, whatever. The God of heaven's in control of all of this. That's the other thing. You know, whenever we're in the fire, and whenever there's all sorts of, you know, attacks coming at us. And Claire Bear, good to see you in the comments. I'll phone you once I get off this, I think, Claire, if that's okay. So we need to know that God's hearing us. We need to know that despite all the noise, all the chaos of life, all the horrendous things that we've done and said, and all the horrendous things that people have done and said to us, that God is on the throne, and God has his ear tuned to his children. You know, God hears the prayers of his children. And I said it last night, silly little things for me. Oh Lord, I can't find my car key, I can't find my glasses. You know, and all of a sudden I'll see the glasses are on the end of my nose, or the car key's just sitting in front of me. That's been invisible to me for the last, 20 minutes. I've been frantically running around looking for it. But, God hears our prayers, and even in the slightest detail. Jesus said that even the hairs on our head are counted. A sparrow doesn't fall from the sky without the Lord knowing about it. That's, that is the interest that God has in us, and he hears our prayers. So what you're crying out for this morning, the cry of your heart this morning, God's going to hear it. And God's going to hear you. Give ear to my prayer, O God, and hide not yourself from my supplication. Attend to me and hear me. I mourn in my complaint and make a noise. And remember, God is compassionate. So when God sees genuine brokenness in one of his children, God responds to that. Not always in exactly the way that we want. We have this idea of a sort of, divine shopping list. Oh Lord, do this, do this, do this. God answers his prayers in a way that brings glory to him and brings help and aid and comfort to us, but it's not always the way we want it. It's not always the way we want it. Attend to me and hear me. I mourn in my complaint and make a noise. Because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked. And look, I've seen this in the last few weeks. I've seen the absolute horrendous racism that's been levelled against people. The horrendous hatred that's been levelled against people that have stood up and spoke about what they believe. But, we're not to, there's no point in going back like rabid dogs. Take it to the Lord. Take the people that are doing it to the Lord. And ask the Lord to deal with them. Because of the voice of the enemy, because of the oppression of the wicked, for they cast iniquity on me, and in wrath they hate me. Yep, I can identify with that. I can certainly identify with that. My heart is sore pained within me, and the terrors of death are fallen on me. My heart is... Do you ever have that feeling in your heart? Have you ever had that feeling in your heart like everything. It's like a physical pain. It's emotional, but it's a physical pain. And it's agonizing. That heartbreak that we so often experience when we feel, that we're totally alone. That heartbreak. Well, God sees that, God hears that, and you're not alone. If anyone in the chat's thinking they're totally alone, you're not alone, because God sees your heart. God knows exactly what pain you're going through. He knows exactly the people that have inflicted that pain on you. And God's a good God. And then, of course, the terror of death. Many people, even Christians, are terrified of death. And God doesn't want us to be terrified of death. The Bible says, absent from the body, present with the Lord. There's no terror in death for a Christian. It's like stepping into another room. And what a room you're stepping into. What a room you're stepping into. What does the Bible say? Pleasure forevermore at the right hand of God. Can you imagine you imagine being in a place where you feel totally loved, totally accepted, unconditionally, forever, unconditionally looking into the face of the God who died for you and saved you and said he'll never leave you or forsake you? That's what heaven's going to be like. It's going to be a place of glory. And I'm not even talking, we don't really understand the physical attributes, because the way heaven's described in the Bible is a lot of it's in symbolic language. But it talks about streets paved with gold. It talks about people from every tribe and tongue and nation worshipping God together in unity and love. All sin gone, all bitterness gone, all hatred gone. That's what we've got to look forward to. Guys, I'm going to have a look at some of the political stuff now, okay? I'm going to have a look at these couple of super chats first. CO2 lad, Richard, we need to trust in our Master Jesus more than our master plans by man. Yeah, we need to trust in our Master Jesus more than our master plans by man. Jesus wants our compliance and obedience to deliver his promises and not rush the last few miles. Such wisdom in that, CO2 lad, such wisdom. These tests of faith produce patience. Take opportunity to trust Jesus to guide and carry the weight in the way you need, not as you planned, in that he is giving us the wisdom and delivering his promise. Very, very wise words, CO2 lad. Thanks very much for that. Okay, right. Do I want to do this? No, but I'm going to do this because I think it's just to set the context of everything that's been happening. So I want to play a video that Tommy made yesterday and put on Twitter. There's two videos that I think are important. I'm going to read the response from Rupert. Then I want to read what Elon Musk said. Then I want to read what Ben Habib said. And then that's it. I'm not going to mention this again. I'm focusing on Advance UK. I'm focusing on the 16th of May. I'm focusing on building Advance UK in Northern Ireland. I'm focusing on my faith and getting close to God. And the infighting, I'm not going to, what Restore do is completely up to them. And I think what Rupert said has been very, very encouraging. And it's not for me to tell Rupert how to run his party and how to deal with people. But so let's have a look at what Tommy said first of all, okay? And then from there, let me just share screen. Sorry guys, let me share screen. Then we'll have a look at Rupert's response and everything else that's been going on. So let me just get rid of that. Okay. Okay. So.
I went, in my early days of the BNP, none of my black mates could join. So I hated them, told them to fuck off. And now I've had many patriotic black British, many of them class themselves as English, lads I grew up with, people in our movement who have stood by me, stand by our country, say like some of my mates who have served in the Royal Marines, who are black, love England, they're British, they love the country, they've served in it, they've sacrificed their lives for it, they've risked their lives for it. I want to know if they'd be allowed to have representation or be representative. That's what I want to know. If they're second generation, third generation, how do you define it? My mum's Irish, does that mean I couldn't be? Is that what it means? I'm just trying to work out what it means. That's what I'm trying to work out. So that I know if I'm standing saying I think they're the answer. Because if it means no, I don't think they're the answer for Britain. Okay, I think Britain needs to unite. Problem for me, Islamic immigration, mass immigration, imported immigration needs to halt, needs to stop. Doesn't mean we can't say that a third generation, second generation, fourth generation, whatever you want to get, non-white.
I think Tommy makes a really important point, and this is, you know, and he's done. I mean, what he's done in this video is absolutely fantastic, because this clarification needed to come, and I'm very, very happy. I'm actually delighted with what Tommy's done, because it takes a lot of courage to do what Tommy's done, because there's a lot riding on this, and if any of us get it wrong, it's problematic, especially Tommy. So he's focused and he's zoned in on what the real problem is in the UK. The real problem is Islamic immigration to the country, the Islamization of the country, the Islamic takeover of the country, and what's happened with all the ethno-nat stuff. It has basically obscured that, and it's created a lot of confusion. But let's listen to what the rest of what Tommy's saying in this, and the specific questions that he's got for Rupert. And then we'll have a look at what Rupert's response was. We'll have a look at Tommy's response, then Elon's response, then Ben's response, and then, like I say, for me, you know, I'm going to draw a line under it. I'm going to get on with what I've got to do, and if I see racism and hatred aimed at friends of mine, I will call it out again, like I have done over the last couple of weeks. So this I mean, June, do you know what, June, I get that, but I think what Tommy's trying to do is unify people. That's what I think he's doing. In fact, you know, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago about this, and he's trying to bring unity. That's what he's about. I don't think he's saying, you know, give up on Advance or give up on Restore. You know, my position, and even with all the fighting that's been going on, my position is that the two should grow up together as independent parties, and the problems that, you know, that appear. Yes, they need to be sorted out, and they need to be looked at, and they need to be called out. But I am committed to Advance. That's my position. You know, Tommy has got to look at the bigger picture because of his position. You know, I still believe Tommy supports Advance. Absolutely. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but he hasn't said he doesn't. So, yeah. Let's have a little further listen to what he's saying, because I think it's June. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you, June. And I think what I'm trying to do is say, we will, you know, from my point of view, what I want to do is continue on with Advance, continue supporting Advance. Let Restore do their thing. They've got growing pains. They need to sort their stuff out. Advance is a party on its own, in its own right, which I think is the best option. I'll always say that because I believe in it. But what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to create more division. I'm just going to say, look, everybody knows what I've said. Like you say there, June, we can't unsee the racism, and you know, that's now up to Rupert and people in Restore to deal with the ethno-nat issue within their party. That's not my job. It's not my job at all. I'm focused on Advance. I'll be focused on building Advance. And what I do want to do is see unity. I want to see people come together. I want to see these. Yeah, I'm not going to go any more about the ethno-nats. But anyway, let's listen to what the rest of what Tommy's saying, because it is important, and I'm glad he has made this stand, because it's an important stand to take. So yeah, let's continue on. Unite, not fight. Good morning, Richard, and all in the chat. Morning, John. Good to see you. Hope you're well, brother. Okay. There are dark characters. Yeah. Ben was great in Oxford Union, but he looked tired. Right, okay, guys. So I'm going to take the comments out so we can focus on what Tommy's saying here. So let's have a look.
Person or non-full 100% ethnically English person cannot represent their country. That's what I think. So that's why I'm asking the question. Yeah, and I know that Rupert's group, he's surrounded by many of them aren't, or I don't know if any of them are working class. Yeah, but if you,
I think that's a very important point that that Tommy's making here. I think it's a very, very important point that Tommy's making here. Sorry, I'm just going to see if you're coming in my comments and putting, you know, putting abusive stuff. You're just going to get deleted and banned. So someone there saying, you know, I'm going to have zero tolerance on anyone that's coming in here and trying to spread further division. And I'll ask the mods as well if there's anyone here, you know, being divisive against what we all believe in this group. Just get rid of them, Kelly. Just get rid of them, ban them, block them. We don't want them here. Simple as that. Okay. But let's keep going with what Tommy says, because this is really important.
you go to working class communities in this country, I don't think they'd agree with that. I don't know, none of my mates would agree with it, because we've all got non-white people that we love in our family and friendships. So I'd like to know before I tell people, which I...
That point is vitally important that Tommy's just made there. That point is vitally important. The British working class, if you look at the football lads and the veterans in 2017, 2018, totally on the same page as Tommy, totally on the same page as me. There are a few, you know, swivel-eyed racists among us. They always crop up from time to time, but nobody really paid them any heed. And this is the problem. And what he said there is a vital thing. The British working class are an integrated working class. If you think about in the 1970s and 1980s when there was the problems, as Paul was mentioning at the weekend with the National Front, you then had, you know, people getting together around music, around ska music, around punk music, around the football scene, and the racism really melted away as people got on and started mixing together and started intermarrying and sharing, you know, sharing shared passions together, whether it's football or music or church or whatever it was. So this divide that has been pushed upon us by certain people along the lines of ethnicity is a fake divide. And the British working class, I've got mixed race people in my family. I know, you know, most people in different towns and cities across the country, the colour thing is just not an issue. It really isn't. Now, again, it was a massive problem has been caused by identity politics played on the left, Black Lives Matter, a lot of the Islamist groups, you know, the hardcore leftists have caused massive problems and division, right? And the way to solve it is to go at it in the opposite spirit. And that's, I think, exactly what Tommy's saying in this video. I know it is, because I know what he believes. Because I've had these discussions with Tommy on so many occasions. I wouldn't stand with Tommy for 1 second if I thought he was a racist. And he's just not. You know, he's way more tolerant than me, I would say. You know, I mean, he's a really very accepting, tolerant person. So, yeah, Shohab's a prime example. And I've said this about Shohab. Shohab, whenever I was going through the problems that I was going through last year, Shohab was the person out of everyone in the movement, I mean everyone, who showed me more love and compassion. And that's just the truth. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. Yeah, we've all got mixed race families, and I just will not allow these people to take over our movement, and they're not going to, because I think this is what this has done is really this is a defining moment, and I thank Tommy from the bottom of my heart from doing this, because it's a fantastic thing that he's done here.
I've been telling people, because I see Rupert Lowe and listen to Rupert Lowe and think that could be our Trump, or that is our Trump. Now, if I don't think Trump would be telling people, no, you can't stand in politics because you're not white. Or you can't stand in politics because you're not 100% this and we want to check your DNA. I don't think Trump would do that, ever. He wouldn't do that. In fact, he represented, from his early years, the total opposite to that. So before I say he's our Trump or want to know, I'd like to know the policies so that I don't look like a fucking idiot by telling people this is the solution, to then find out that they'd exclude many of the people that have supported me and that have stood by me throughout all these years, and that we're not going backwards. I don't believe, if someone puts the Quran as their way of life and their most important thing, I don't think they should be able to stand in British politics, because the Quran becomes above democracy for them, above politics for them. It's alien, it's the total opposite to freedom. So if that's their values, nope, you shouldn't be able to stand in politics. That's what I think, yeah? So I think Islamic immigration to this country is a massive problem. It's alien, it does not work, it's oil and water. But that doesn't mean we should single out all the decent people that have come and tell them that, like I saw something said to the girl from the BBC girl, is it Nyack, the black girl? No, you're not British. You're not British. She loves Britain. So I think it's a dangerous line. In fact, I'm going to do a whole video on what I believe, what my representation is, what I believe, yeah? And I'd just like to know the answer from Rupert, not from anyone in his office, I want to know what Rupert Lowe's position is on this. And it's not just me, because so many of my direct messages are saying the same. They're cutting people who are speaking on behalf of thingy. And I even think yesterday's tweet was just stupid. You could have said, I don't want British lives lost, don't want British people to be lost, don't agree with this, don't agree with that, but...
Again, as far as I think we're talking about Rupert not getting behind Trump's attack on Iran, and again, it's Rupert's prerogative, but I agree with Tommy on this 100%, that that the taking out of the Iranian regime is a brilliant thing for the Iranian people, for the Middle East, for the whole world. Now, I don't think it's the silver bullet to stop Islamism, because you've got Islamism coming from Qatar, Turkey, probably Syria now, right the way through Africa, and that Islamism is Sunni Islamism. The Islamism that was coming from Iran was Shia Islamism, even though they would support Sunni terrorist groups if it was going to achieve their strategic aims and goals for them. But again, this is a very important point that Tommy's making. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think given, say, 8 years, Tommy actually could be our Trump. I really mean that. Really mean that. Tommy could be our Trump. Again, I'm not going to get into division, and I'm not going to start attacking anybody, but I think Tommy could well be our Trump. And again, I'm in advance, and I'm going to stay in advance, and I'm going to hopefully help build advance as a party, just as a foot soldier. I'm nothing more than a foot soldier. You know, these things, these discussions are vitally important. If we can have them calmly and quietly, and I'm not, you know, I'm saying that to myself because I go off the reservation, as everybody knows. I'm very passionate, very hot-headed, and it gets me into a lot of trouble. But on this, I know that we're right to basically call racism out when we see it, and we're not lefties. All the people calling us lefties, well, I'm not going to say it. Who do you think you are? You know, we're not lefties. We want to mass deport loads of people, okay? We want to get rid of all the Islamists. We want to get rid of all the hate preachers. We want to get rid of all the grooming gangs. We want to get rid of anyone that doesn't love our country. As Tommy said, if you're a devout Muslim and you're wanting to swear your oath on the Quran in Parliament, you shouldn't be allowed to. You should be made to swear on the Bible or a neutral text that says that you believe in Britain as a Christian country, just like Advance UK's policies are. So yeah, I think for me, time will tell. I don't need to keep going over what's happened, and I think, you know, again, this video by Tommy is an excellent and timely intervention. I'm very glad it happened.
I want to see the freedom of the people of Iran against that scumbag Ayatollah. You could have made that point rather than just the point, we don't want Britain to be involved. Now, America are our allies. If they're going to war, if we were going to war and we had a problem, we'd want America. So I trust Donald Trump more than I trust any of the politicians in our country. I trust Donald Trump. That's what I trust. So, yeah, I don't believe Keir Starmer, I don't believe Macron, I don't believe any of the European leaders. But I do trust Donald Trump. That's my point. That's all I want to know. Simple yes or no. Could Ian Wright, if he wanted to stand in politics, could he be representative in any position at all? Or is he excluded from being involved in Restore Britain? That's all I want to know. And that's only so I don't look like a fucking idiot myself, telling people, yeah, this is a good party, join this party, and finding out that I don't actually align with it.
Okay, so I think that's very clear what Tommy's saying. Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do, Carolyn. This is the last video I'm going to do on this, because this really does put it to bed as far as I'm concerned. It really does put it to bed. Right, okay, guys, just bear with me. So that was Tommy's question to Rupert, okay? And then, just let me get this. And then Rupert answered with this. Let me just put it on the screen. Let me minimised. I need to make that a bit bigger. I'll just read it here, guys. Will GB Resistance has actually already done some camera work for Restore Britain. He's been very helpful, and he's talented. Yes. So yes, that answers your question. And then as a response to that, let me just get it. And then we're nearly done with this. Let's say once this is done, it's done. And what I'm trying to do here is bring back some form of unity, so that the negativity is gone for good. Sorry guys, just bear with me. I'm going to find Tommy's response here. Here we go. This is Tommy's response, okay?
Because Joe White, well, our question's been answered. Which can put my mind at ease. Someone who's not white can, because Joe White, I'm confused about this, because I see policymakers giving interviews or talking online saying the total fucking opposite. Saying that if someone's parents are not brought from England, that's what basically they've said. They said Suella Braverman couldn't stand for the party because of her heritage. Even though she's born here, even though she loves the country, even though she's...
And again, just to give a bit of context for that, this was Conor Tomlinson basically made a video, I think it was before Christmas, saying that anyone that... Oh, do you know what? I'm not going to replay it because there's no point. But basically what he was saying was no one from the Indian subcontinent, or with relatives from the Indian subcontinent, both relatives, should be allowed to stand as an MP. He was saying that to stand as an MP you had to have British, be ethnically British. In other words, it was an ethnicity thing more than what you believe thing, and that is why Tommy's asking these questions. And so it's not like these things have been plucked out of the way. Charlie Downs has made similar statements. Carl Benjamin, my goodness, he's made statements like this as well. So this is why Tommy's highlighting this. It's not to be divisive. These things have to be dealt with, and they have to be dealt with in the open, so that everybody understands exactly where everybody stands, right? And what I am doing is I'm saying, somebody sent me a message, don't start another war, right? I didn't start the first war. I'm not going to start another war now. I just think it's really important that we exactly understand where this is all going if we don't handle it now. And it's not down to me or Tommy or anyone else to deal with any internal discipline issues in Rupert's party. But what we can do is, if we see something that is wrong, it is absolutely our duty and our responsibility to say, okay, this is off. Can you clarify what's going on here? And again, I'm trying to be polite because I know people don't like me being rude and aggressive and angry, so I'm trying to be very polite and very calm about all this. But I would imagine that Rupert is probably, if I was Rupert Lowe, I'd be having serious discussions with a lot of people that have made these sort of statements, because I don't believe it's what Rupert believes. Obviously, he's clarified it. Rupert is not an ethno-nat. Rupert is not an ethno-nat, as far as I can see. And he's made that very clear. And I think that's great. And I think that this is why we can move forward. There's a little bit more to go on this. I mean, this is going to take up the whole breakfast show, but I want to do it just to get it out the way. And, it doesn't matter what I say. A lot of people are going to attack me anyway, so I don't really care about them. But I think this is important for all the genuine people that want to know exactly what's happening and exactly what's going on.
Patriotic, even though she's a great benefit, even though all these things, she couldn't stand for Restore. So what I wanted to know is that Rupert's policy?
And that's exactly what Conor Tomlinson said. Conor Tomlinson said that Suella Braverman could not stand for he didn't say she couldn't stand for Restore. He said under his belief system, she wouldn't be able to stand. Right? That's what Conor Tomlinson said. Okay? And make of that what you will. I think that's racism.
Or is this, because if your policy advisor or your policy spokesman or your policy people or your spokespeople for your party are making these sorts of comments online, it's not a good look. In fact, I'd be raging. If someone's making a comment like that on my behalf of the party and that I'm a face of, I wouldn't be happy. Because now we know that's not what Rupert's saying and that's not what Rupert's position is. So I think he needs to rein some of them young lads in around him who are making these comments. Because it's clearly, he's made a very clear distinction, that's not what he says, which makes me happy. Because it means I'm not going to look like an idiot, yeah? I think Rupert has the ability to be Britain's Trump. But I definitely think he needs to sort out some people who are speaking on his behalf or the party's behalf. Because it's not a good look. When you read the comments, it's not a good look, because there's lots of dickheads out there who think that's what Rupert's representing. When they're making the comments, no, they won't be able to. So I'm glad Rupert's clarified for all those wankers in the comments, yes. Same difference. So someone who's not white would be able to stand. Glad that's clear.
And I think that's a great, that is a great way to put it to bed. Okay. It is, that has clarified that. And, yeah, and I think this is the thing. I agree with this 100%. I am not a member of Restore. I will never be a member of Restore Britain. It's not. I'm going to stick with Advance UK. Again, I wish people that are in Restore all the best. I hope that they sort out those problems that Tommy's highlighted that need to be sorted out. Tommy's saying exactly what I'm saying. That's the whole point. He's saying it in a lot more polite and better way, because I'm a hothead nutcase. But Tommy's saying exactly what I've been saying for the past 2 weeks. And he's just asking for clarification. And it's exactly what I've said. His wording's slightly different, but it's exactly what I'm saying. And again, now it's up to Rupert to deal with whoever's in his party that's caused him problems. It's as simple as that. That's not my job. It's nobody else's job. Restore are their own party. Advance are our party. We're going to surge on with some amazing stuff that we've got planned in advance. So let me just go to what Ben Habib said, because I think Ben's, and we've seen what Rupert said, we've seen what Tommy said. Let's have a look at what Ben said. Then we know where everybody stands on all this, okay? So let's just go to my profile, because I pinned this because I thought it was such a great statement by Ben, and then we go back to Elon. So we'll start with what Elon said. It's quite a long thread this to read. So just bear with me as I. Okay, that's not it. That's Rupert's statement. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Just bear with. Okay, so this is Elon's. Okay, this is really important. This is Elon Musk. Okay, if ethnicity, I can't even say that word, ethnicity exists at all, which obviously does, then English is an ethnicity. Correct. I'm English. part Scottish, part Irish, part English. Okay. This is a simple statement of fact. It is possible to be culturally English or French or Japanese, etc., but ethnically be different. The first is software, the other is hardware. Now, I don't believe the hardware is as important as the software. Okay, if you have an operating system that is just hardware and doesn't have any software, it can't work. And the software of the British and the English is Christianity. Okay, but then Elon says this, and this is really important. This should not be licensed. This should not be a license to be cruel or unfair to people of a different ethnicity. I believe we should be fair to all ethnicities, but not pretend that one or another does not exist. And that's a completely fair point. Completely fair point. And I don't think anyone could disagree with that, okay, with that statement. So then let's go back to what Ben says, okay? And here we go. This is what Ben said. This is it. Thank you, Elon. When making policies, political parties must not do so based on skin colour or ethnicity. Policy must apply across the board fairly to all. I agree with all that. Let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know in the comments if you agree with this, because I agree with this. Policies must apply across the board fairly to all. Political, cultural nationalism is vital. And I think he should have put Christian in there. I think he should have said Christian cultural nationalism, because politics is downstream of culture. So political ethno-nationalism leads to a dark place. Okay, so I see why I said political. Okay, that's fair enough. Political cultural nationalism is vital. Political ethnic nationalism leads to a dark place. Mass immigration and multiculturalism has broken our national culture. Isn't that what we all agree? We all agree on that. The idea of, and to be honest with you, I actually agree with what Tommy says on this. The problem doesn't come from Hindus, Sikhs, Jewish people, Nepalese Gurkhas, Chinese Christians, Nigerian Christians. The problems in our country, the major problems that are affecting our country and the major threats to our country are very, very simply coming from radical Islam and Islam as a whole. But like I've already said, the man that showed the most care and pastoral care, if you like, and love towards me when I was going through my darkest hour, when my mother died and I had all sorts of family issues going on, the man who stood with me was Shohab, a Muslim man. So, and this is where all of this is very nuanced, and we need to be very careful. Like Ben says, political ethnic nationalism leads to a dark place. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. 100%. 100%. As does Islamism and sectarianism. Islamic extremism, which has been pandered to and surrendered to by a pathetic, weak, snivelling governments. We need a political leader, and I think it's Ben Habib. That's my opinion. I think Ben Habib is the man that should be the next Prime Minister. That's why I'm a member of Advance UK, and I do believe that Tommy has the potential to be our Trump. I genuinely believe that, and there is something there, and that is what I would love to see Ben as Prime Minister. I'd love to see Tommy come in and maybe take over from Ben as Prime Minister in 8 years' time or whatever. And that seems crazy at the minute, doesn't it? It seems crazy, but look, Mad Zach Polanski and his Islamist chums have just won a by-election in a northern town. So it's not so crazy to say that if we can get our act together and work together, we can see some absolutely amazing things. And I'm just going to read my post on this just so everybody knows exactly where I stand, okay? And I just put in response to this thread, in response to everything that's gone on, do you know what? When I see some of the comments, I just absolutely despair. I absolutely despair. A must read, I just put this, a must read for all in advance UK and Restore Britain. This is the unifying position. Well done, Ben Habib and Elon Musk. Can we now save our beautiful nation from Islamists, communists, globalists and racists? I think that's a very fair tweet, you know. But, and then all the haters come in the comments below. And, I mean, do you know what? I'm not even going to give. I'm not even going to give the haters the time of day, in their comments and their silly, pathetic little, blasphemy. These are people that never put their, they don't use their own names. They never put their. They're probably lefties actually. They never put their names above the door. They don't put their heads above the parapet. So as far as I'm concerned, you know what you can do. But this is. Hopefully all this put to bed. I am not going to mention this again. I will call out racism. If I see people being racist in any political party, if I saw it in advance, I would call it out. And, the difference between advance and restore, if I saw it in advance, I could pick up the phone to Ben and say, Ben, these people are racist nutcases. But, they would be all over it. And I have done that. If I've seen stuff that I think's off, I can get in touch with the leader. I can't get in touch with the leader of Restore, and I can't get in touch with the people around him, other than online. So if I see racism in Restore, I would have to call it out publicly because I can't call it out privately. So there we go, guys. That is that. Hopefully that puts that to bed. Hopefully that's clarified everything. I know I'm going to get loads of hate. My position's very, very clear. I want to see unity on the right. Okay, so this is what I want to actually see. I want to see loads of people coming from Reform, loads of people coming from Restore, loads of people coming from Advance, coming together at the next general election in unity around a set of principles. And guess what the set of principles are, guys? Well, let me just show you what the set of principles are. Because this is where, if people had have actually, and I know I'm going to get more stick for this, but I don't care. If people have actually got behind this, okay? If people actually got behind the pledge and really got behind the pledge, and what I would suggest anyone that's watching this that hasn't signed the pledge, hasn't read it, go and read the pledge and go and sign it, because it deals with all these issues. Let me just go through some of the things in the pledge. So if everybody on the right gets behind this ideology from the pledge, then we would win, because it is no right-thinking person, as my friend always says, no right-thinking person could stand against the principles within the pledge. Let me just read some of these principles. Okay, I'm going to read the whole of the pledge. Okay. This is the pledge. This is the pledge in its entirety. There's 5 points which are quite short. I stand for freedom, equality under the law, real democracy and family. I want to build a peaceful, prosperous and patriotic society, reclaim our nation's identity, its Christian traditions, culture and values, give courage and hope to the British people, resist tyranny. Okay, so that's it. That's the 5 points of the pledge. Okay, but the meat on the bones is this. This is the pledge. I am making a stand for British people, our freedom, our family, our home. And this was agreed by a whole lot of people in London 2 years ago. And hardly any of them have promoted it. And that's up to them. I believe in the values of freedom, equality under the law, real democracy, family, the cultural inheritance with which I've been blessed. Okay? Any detractors yet? Let me have a look in the comments. I would imagine everybody's agreeing with the pledge. Okay, so let's keep going. I stand with those who strive to build a peaceful, prosperous and patriotic society. I believe in the values of freedom, equality under the law, real democracy, family, the cultural inheritance with which I have been blessed. I believe in the sovereignty of the individual over their own lives and bodies. All agree with that? I believe in the unity and territorial integrity of the United Kingdom. That deals with the protocol or the Windsor Framework or whatever they call it now. That basically means that we need to get Northern Ireland back fully into the UK. Okay? I believe the government's role is to protect the rights and freedoms of its own people. Not the Islamists, not the people that are coming to our country to destabilise it, not the people who are coming to our country telling us they're not here to take part, but to take over. We give you the lovely curry. Not those people, right? To protect the rights and freedoms of its own people, of the British people, okay? Of all skin colours, but the people that love our country. This is the difference, you see. This is the difference. I reclaim my Christian heritage, culture and values. Now listen to this, right? This is in the pledge. I stand against all extremism, including racism, anti-Semitism, anti-British bigotry, and seek to oppose those who would see our way of life and laws eradicated. I'll read that again. I stand against all extremism, including racism, anti-Semitism, and anti-British bigotry. I think that covers it all, doesn't it? I stand against the so-called progressive ideologies like critical race theory that spread division and hatred and erode our freedoms and damage the fabric of society. I claim my right to speak freely without fear and reject accusations of hate and all legislation used to silence me or prevent the scrutiny of ideas. I reject the intimidation and violence of divisive activist groups, the mainstream media, the government, and the misuse of corporate power. I believe we must all be equal before the law and stand against the spit my teeth out. I believe we must be all equal before the law and stand against the totalitarianism of fundamentalist Islam and the practice of Sharia law. Now, Ben Habib got that clause put in. Ben got this clause put in. Wasn't from my pen or David Rhodes' pen. Ben wanted this clause put into the very specifically targeting fundamentalist Islam. Okay? I believe we must all be equal before the law and stand against the I reject mass immigration and want to see it stopped. Okay? I reject mass and illegal immigration and want to see it stopped, and obviously we want to see it reversed as well. I reject outside interference from supranational bodies like the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the European Union, and unaccountable judges and quangos. I encourage respectful dialogue and speak up for the truth, common sense, and civil rights of all citizens. Yes, I fall down on the respectful dialogue one, guys. I admit that. I believe in a prosperous, independent and secure United Kingdom and prioritise affordable housing for young people, farming and food energy security. I reject the net zero ideology. I stand to protect the innocence of children. I will work to stop... we couldn't say this. This actually got the site blocked, believe it or not, by some of the phone networks. I will work to stop transgender activists and their efforts to mutilate the minds and bodies of a generation of children. I will expose grooming and paedophilia. I cherish every human life as sacred. Now that is a pledge, guys. Okay, that is a pledge, right? That I believe everybody should be able to sign. Okay. Everybody should be able to sign. Now, there's something weird going on here, guys. I don't know what's happened. Have I missed something? Who all signed the pledge? Oh, okay. Yes. Lulu, thanks, Lulu. I couldn't understand. I thought YouTube had gone funny again. So, I mean, if you look at, here's the thing about the pledge, right? And by the way, the pledge is, I've basically, myself and one other person have funded the pledge and done the vast majority of the heavy lifting on the pledge. So it is a pet project of mine and one of my, David Rhodes was massively involved in the pledge as well. Ben Habib signed the pledge. I think Nick Tenconi signed the pledge. I think every party leader, if Rupert Lowe signed the pledge, it would deal with all the problems that he's got with the ethnonats, to be honest with you. If he made everybody in his party sign the pledge, he'd get rid of the ethnonats overnight. You know, and that's why I think the pledge is such a vital document. And everybody was there when this was formulated in 2024. I think it was July 2024. Okay. And if we had 1 million people sign the pledge, it's not, you know, we're not charging anyone to sign the pledge. We're not saying, oh, give us a tenner to join our movement. It's free to sign the pledge, okay? And we don't bug people with loads of emails. We've got the emails. We know where everybody is, so we can, you know, come the time, email everybody on the pledge database, say, right, guys, you know, this is... these are the people that have signed the pledge and that agree with the pledge in your area in terms of politicians and political parties. So yeah, the pledge.org.uk. If you haven't signed it, guys, go and sign it. And I must admit, I'm still really, really disturbed by what's happened in the movement. But hopefully, Rupert sorts his party out. We'll sort Advance out. You know, Advance doesn't need sorted out, to be honest. It's great, but we'll keep going and we'll keep fighting. So I'm just going to draw a line under that, and I'm going to say, if you haven't signed the pledge, please sign it. The pledge was designed specifically to keep out extremists of all sorts from our movement. That was what it was designed for. You can't be an Islamist and sign the pledge. You can't be far left and sign the pledge. You can't be a globalist and sign the pledge. You can't be an ethno-nat and sign the pledge. And I've signed it and agree. Anyone on the same side should be able to sign the pledge. Exactly. This is the whole point of the pledge, and I think the pledge could become something that is a very, very powerful tool. And I keep saying it, in our toolbox we've got Advance UK, we've got, this is in my toolbox, Advance UK, the pledge, Unite the Kingdom, and the and Christianity, right? Those 4 streams are vitally, vitally important to winning. Okay, you can't absolutely you cannot negotiate with Islam. And somebody put it earlier, I think it was Lulu put it earlier, about, you know, we don't want to have our country descend into, on one side, Islamist radicals, and on the other side the KKK. And that is the big danger. I think it was you, Lulu. I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth. I can't go through the comments and find it. But so yeah, this is what I'm trying to do today is say we can unify, we can get people together. Now I know I'm going to get loads of hate. I don't really care. I don't care about the haters. I care about the people that are close to me, and that's where I'm at. That's the ground that I'm standing on. So that's it, guys. That is basically it. That's an hour on this, and this pledge should be a standard dynamic in UK politics. We've been given a great wake up. Well, look what happened in Iran in 1979, and how long the lives it's taken to. Absolutely. We won't win. We won't win on the ground of it. If we stand on the ground of extremism, we won't win. You know, that's why we're against all extremism. Okay. It was you, Lulu. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness. I hope I wasn't putting words in your mouth there. But, yeah, so that's where we're all at. Well, I think, you know, I'm gonna keep promoting the pledge. It's very sad that a lot more people didn't promote it. Very disappointing, to be honest with you. But what I'd ask you to do is share the pledge, because I think the pledge could have stopped the problems that we've had in the last 2 weeks. I think it's as simple as that, you know. So let's just wait and see what happens next, okay? This is El Grace. I fear Restore is attracting racists. I've read someone say rewording on Facebook. Love Ben anti-speech at Oxford Union. I don't disagree with that. And we all need to stand together, united. Yes, we do, and we need to, that's why we need to sign the pledge and unite around the pledge. God bless you, man. God bless you. Okay, guys, I'm going to play a song that we all love, if I can find it. Looking for the Men of England. Where is it? Let's have a look. Where are we? Is that it? No, can't find that there. Right, just bear with me while I try and find this. Okay. Here we go. Took ages to find that.
Where are the men of England, those heroes brave and bold? Where are the men who bled and died in foreign wars untold? The men who conquered all and stood for faith and love, the men who looked to guidance from the Father up above. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? Men of England, when rape had so depraved, took the daughters of our nation, who forever they enslaved. What of the men of England that looked the other way? They took the country shilling, they never made their play. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? And vice squad, they all seem quite amused, as at the hands of rape gangs our daughters were abused. The politicians blamed the lads who stood up one and all, but most of all blamed Tommy, who always took the fall. Where are the men of England, the heroes brave and bold, the men who stood for faith and truth, whose honor wasn't sold? For now we all must stand. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land. The future of our children is still within your hand. The future not yet written for this green and pleasant land.
This morning, my friends, I asked a question. This morning. I said, where are the men of England? You're here! You're here! You're here!
Well, there you go, guys. That was hopefully that's put all that to bed. I'm just not going to get into this again. Like I say, if I see something wrong, I will call it out from wherever it comes from, whatever side. I've called out reform on numerous occasions. If I see something wrong in advance, like I say, I'll take it to the leadership, and I have done if I see stuff that I'm not happy with. And we've got a right to do that. But let's hope and pray that the viciousness and the darkness and the racism has been put to bed, and that we're not going to see that anymore. And we're going to have a real sense of unity. We're going to have a real sense of coming together. Because the way that we can win this is if people in Reform, Restore and Advance UK all sign the pledge and say, we all agree with this ideology, then we could unify. We absolutely could. That's the whole thing. We absolutely could unify if everybody signed the pledge. And that's why it was created in the first place. And guys, I think, you know, yeah, I do you know what? I get that as well. I get this as well. I think he was looking for clarity, as there has been different messages in the media from different people. I'm glad he asked. I'm not sure on the answer given back, though. It didn't make sense to me. It was quite. I thought that as well, but I'm not going to go down that road. I'm not going to go down that road. We need to unify. I like to say the best way to unify, guys, is sign that document called the pledge, and you know, again, this is why everybody should have got behind the pledge. You know, a lot of people that were in that room never even shared it, as far as I know. You know, they all agreed to it, but none of them shared it. You know, one of the people that's become the race baiter in chief in all this didn't even turn up to the meeting. But there you go. Anyway, guys, God bless you all. I'm weary of this. It's caused me massive stress, and you know, the hatred and the vitriol that's been aimed at me is disgusting, from scumbags that, you know, don't know me. You know, I'm not on about, you know, normal people. I'm about the real goose stepping scumbags that's attacked me. But we are where we are. We'll keep going, and you know, there's some very evil people out there. That's all I'm going to say. Some very evil people, and God will deal with them. Okay, guys. See you all soon.